Good evening, parents, and I know there's some faculty here. I'd like to welcome you tonight. I appreciate you coming into Beverly Hills Middle School tonight prior to conferences. I know it's a busy week for all of us, so I do appreciate you coming, taking the time tonight to come, kind of get a little presentation from me. My name is Wayne Remy. I'm the building principal here at Beverly Hills Middle School. First year here in this position. This evening, what we're going to work on, what I'd like to discuss with you or to show you are some of the challenges that we've been facing here at Beverly Hills Middle School this year. I'm going to start off by identifying the problems with you and for you, presenting you some of the data that we have, outlining some of the issues that we are having, the consequences that we are putting in place for such behaviors, discuss with you just the overall reports of behavior in the community that we're receiving from community members, inform you of the resources that we have available here in the school district and in Beverly Hills Middle School in particular, and then just reach out and ask parents to join us in the journey as we work through educating our students here at Beverly Hills. This presentation is going to, just so everybody's aware, will be recorded and shared out with families through my Wednesday message, either tomorrow or next week once everything is edited as well. So this year, as we started the school year, we had several issues that were kind of coming into the school building that presented issues for our students, for our staff, and for the overall community. As we sat down and digested the first couple weeks of school, we started to see that there was an uptick in fighting, in students cutting class, students late to class. Those instances then translated and correlated to behavior in our hallways, and then also influenced social media, and sometimes social media influenced those behaviors. So as we go through the presentation tonight, I'm kind of going to outline for you what the problems are here with these scenarios and exactly what we're trying to do here at Beverly Hills to help negate these and resolve these matters as we move forward. So I wanted to just first start off, and I have three, there's more than three, but I have three scenarios, three instances that when I sit down with my administrative team, who's here with me tonight, we have Mr. Jerome Neal, who's my 6th grade assistant principal, Mr. Aaron Smith, who's my 7th grade assistant principal, David Robinson is my 8th grade assistant principal, and Morgan Fuller is my assistant principal. She kind of oversees operations, but also assists the other grade levels as we go through the school year. So the first scenario I want to kind of try to paint for you, I'm going to try to be an artist up here and paint the picture for you without showing you the picture. Is a scenario, my office is located right out here. As many of you are aware, there's a social media platform called TikTok, and on this particular day, I'm sitting in my office and I hear chanting and clapping and students, kind of, I don't know what it is. I, of course, get anxious or go check what's going on. There's a stairway and I go down and I see students dancing in the middle of the stairway, and it's a tight stairway. However, around those students were loads and loads of students. So for me to be able to get into the students to see what was going on actually took some time. At that point, I didn't know what it was. As I go down and another staff member comes, the students come running up the stairwell. And they run, and I think everything's okay, and they go on to class. As I come back to review footage, what I notice is I see just a pile of students coming through the doorway and students falling, tripping over each other, hitting into the wall. And right next to that is like a metal post or beam, and their head was this close. As I sat there, Mr. Neal and I, we identify the students, we bring them in, and we have a discussion. And their impression was, well, I got in trouble for dancing. And wanted to explain to them, no, you were an inch, a foot away from somebody hitting their head onto that beam and having this be a much bigger thing. So in my eyes, they didn't see the unintended outcomes that their actions could have. In a school building, as you all know, of 1,500 students, those unintended outcomes, sometimes your behaviors, you can't control how others are going to react to that. So as students and as adults, we want to impress upon them, and parents impress upon them about sometimes your actions, other people react to that, and that can cause an unintended outcome. The second scenario I just wanted to kind of review was at dismissal. So as you know, we had some construction. We had 1,500 students all leaving through the Sherbrooke exits. Many students would want to play on the hill and run up and down the hill. In this particular day, we have a student who kind of just taps from behind, a couple people away, reaches over, taps somebody on the head. The other student turns around and punches somebody, thinking that the person that they punched was the person that pumped them on the head. As we go back, it wasn't that person, right? And what we saw when we went back and reviewed, and actually in the moment, was that we had staff members and security and students who were just there. They just wanted to walk home or be talking to their friends, almost get engulfed by crowds and crowds of students. Again, an unintended outcome, right? We thought the person who tapped the person on the head thought they were doing a little playful tap. And it turned into the possibility of students tripping, falling, getting hurt, getting stomped on, and really for no reason. And then the last scenario I have, and again, this is just 3 of them, is where one student in class or the day before called another student a name. Nobody told the assistant principal, nobody told the center, but obviously that person was upset. They went through the whole entire day the next day, and after lunch one day, decided to confront that person. A crowd of students then came with their cell phones out trying to video an altercation, and the student was escorted back into the cafeteria by a staff member for safety. Down in the cafeteria, we have Aramark, and they have the kitchens, and there's like gates, kind of that, like you think at the mall, that you would put down when the store closes, and then you put up. So they put that down at the end of the day, and our administration had taken that young person back behind there as we tried to resolve the issue. Well, now that there was a crowd of a lot of students, another student came and lifted the gate, and students then entered into that area. And the reason they entered into that area was to video on their cell phones of what was happening. Administration did work to identify those students and address that accordingly. Those are the things, the unintended outcomes that we are trying to work with our students. Those are the things that we would love for our parents to have those conversations with their students about how to behave and how to react in those types of situations, and how adding to that sometimes create a bigger hysteria and something more severe could happen. I have a little video, and this is not, what this is I'm a big sports guy, so when I was thinking of how I could show what this would look like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with when fans celebrate, if they have a big basketball game and they win the game, that the fans storm the court. So this is one that I just happened to find on YouTube, where a team won the game. So students are celebrating, everybody's having a great time, and this is a great thing for this school. Although maybe unsafe, it's a celebratory scenario. My concern and what I want to try to portray with this video is, imagine if in the middle of that, there's a student or something going on where somebody's getting harmed. And we need our staff or our security to be able to get into that, and how challenging that is. Imagine that they talk about, I think this was Michigan State. Michigan State won the game, right? This is so cool. But all the people that might be down on that pile who got injured or needed some other support. And I want to try to reach out and kind of paint that picture for you this evening. So as I was preparing to kind of show this, I decided to pull some particular discipline data for this school year. The main two is, if you look at those first 2 columns, are assaults and fight, and I kind of think of them, students who are attacking other students or engaging in an altercation. In August and September, there were 21 instances of reported assaults and fights in this building. In October, there was 9 when you combine them. And then as of 11/11, there was 0 here at Beverly Hills Middle School for the first 2 weeks of November. I ran this as I was preparing this presentation. At that point in time, it was 0. Has there been a few since 11/11? Yes, but not the numbers that we're seeing in August, September, or October. So definitely a positive is a great decline in those types of behaviors. A pushing and a shoving, and I just wanted to try to highlight this. This might be where something is about to happen, but staff intervenes and the students comply. That will be something where somebody's upset and they're having an issue and the staff comes and they intervene and stop that behavior prior to it ever getting into a fight. We'll explore resources with those students on what we can do to resolve it so it doesn't end in that, and I'll have them a little bit more later. And then I want you to just take a look at the class cuts and the late to class. So these are opportunities where these are times when students are out in the hallway, not where they're supposed to be, and presenting problems for the students who are in class, trying to learn, right? Trying to get that education. And these are the instances where students disrupt the learning for their peers and the instruction for the teachers. As you see, those numbers are pretty large, and we have not seen, I know that number of 140 looks smaller, but when we project that out, it is pretty similar to the other days. So we have not seen a decrease in that as of this time. So Upper Darby School District does not take those instances lightly. So what we have been doing is cutting classes and roaming the halls is not an acceptable behavior. So what that does is that results in a meeting with the Director of Secondary Education, Ms. Kelly Simone. Ms. Kelly Simone and Dr. Marshall are both here this evening to show support as well. So I appreciate them coming out. Physical conduct and fighting won't be tolerated. So students who engage in physical conduct and fighting, they get taken to a meeting with Principal Simone. And then lastly, the social media outside of school, right? So the social media outside of school is oftentimes what leads to the cutting class and the physical conduct inside of school, from what we find during our investigations. Many of these are because of something that was said or done on social media. As I think back to my 3 scenarios, each one of them, there was something involving that social media aspect, right? Students videoing. Those students oftentimes aren't the students who are going to the meetings with Mrs. Simone. Those students oftentimes, go unnoticed, but they're there videoing and then sharing that on social media. The unintended outcome of that is that's out there forever, and that's hard for many 11 and 12 and 13-year-olds to digest. So I just wanted to kind of stop there and just summarize that we here at Beverly Hills are trying to come up with proactive ways to stop these. A lot of these are reactive. So my purpose of tonight is to think, what can we do to not have to be in that reactive stage? All right, these next few slides, I hope, are what kind of bridge that for us, because I know we can't do we got to do it together. We have to be a team here, and if we do that together, I think we can overcome any of these obstacles that we have. Behavior in the community, often, I'm new to being a principal, but even as an assistant principal at the high school and talking to other people who have been in these roles, we get phone calls from community members about student behavior and student conduct, even on the walk home. So we've been able to find ways to proactively maybe stop some of the instances here, but sometimes they're still taking place on that walk home. We've had stores, neighbors across the street, neighbors over on Hilltop kind of reaching out just with concern about those behaviors. And what we try to project with our students is the same way we ask you to behave in here every single day, we want you to continue that outside of school as well, and really have that kind of be a way of life. This is how we're going to behave as we move forward. So in the proactive measures, what we have here at Beverly Hills Middle School is we have, as you walked in, you met our 2 PBIS leads here at Beverly Hills Middle School. You probably see them at every single event that you come to, signing everybody in. We have an amazing PBIS team. The purpose of that is to teach positive behaviors explicitly during the school day. So we have built-in time in what we call citizenship every single day. 18 minutes of citizenship, where we review data, review trends, review what's going on in the needs of the school, and we devise lessons on teaching positive behaviors to our students. In our centers, we have our grade level teams, assistant principals, lead teachers, social workers, and counselors. They're your number one support. They're your child's number one support. They're there to kind of take anything that you have and make sure that it's seen through, it's investigated and looked into, whether it's social, emotional, academic, behavioral, whatever that is, they're your first line of support. We have our Child Guidance Resource Center, that's CGRC for short. They are currently in our building meeting with every single student at least twice in small groups of 10 to try to bridge the gap of COVID loss and what they can do when they come back here to help kind of control their emotions and give them techniques. We have a conflict resolutionist on site. So through Neurologic, we have a conflict resolutionist. So a lot of times when we get to these instances that the grade level AP or the lead teacher might work with, they also are able to add in support for resolving that conflict. It's not always a mediation. It's not always that it has to be a problem with one particular person. It's giving the students the strategies and the tools to be able to handle those conflicts so they can go about their education. So when they're sitting in that classroom, they're not thinking about the conflict, they're thinking about math or science or social studies. And that's a huge tool that we utilize here. We have trauma-informed practices taking place in our building through a neurologic specialist who's here. She's training our team here, so eventually we can take over for that. As you go into some classrooms, you may start to see, and it seems silly, but you might see a bike desk or something like that to get the student to kind of regulate during there. Many of our teachers play music 60 beats per minute, and our neurologic specialist goes into those classrooms and helps the teacher, incorporate that as they feel they can into their daily lessons. We have the Students Assistance Program, which is SAP. That's with Holcomb Behavioral Health. If we feel that a student would need what's called a SAP referral, Holcomb where there's somebody that comes in and they don't tell us what's discussed or what happens, but they're a support for you to maybe help get you outside resources if you need it as well. And then the last thing, and one of the biggest things, is getting involved. After school clubs, athletics, and our music program in Upper Darby, as you all probably know, is top notch. The more and more students want to get involved, the more and more they are excited about school and not engaging in the behaviors that we discussed at the beginning. So anything that you can do to get them involved is a huge, huge win for them, and it makes the school and the community a better place for everybody. So I know you're sitting here like, that's great, Mr. Remy, thank you so much for all the data. I wanted to use all that information to paint the picture and really ask for your help. What can you do as parents to help? The first thing is reiterate that positive behavior with them at home. So they're learning, we're giving them strategies and ways to behave, how they should be behaving here, but reiterate that with them at home. Every single day, if you can, try to incorporate some conversation about what they did that day, right? I know it's like pulling teeth sometimes to have that conversation with an 11 or 12 or 13-year-old, but pull it out. Pull that out of them so they know that you care and they know that you're engaged in their education and how important it is to you. Keep open lines of communication with school. So utilize the resources that we have. We have amazing, amazing teachers here. Use them. I know the hard part is, a lot of emails, right? And that's our main lines of communication is a lot of emails. But if you can make it a habit to check that email to see if there's something coming in, a lot of times that one little small thing on the front end can solve so many big things on the back end. So if you can just keep those open lines, respond, reach out to them if you're concerned, if you hear something. With that, there's Schoology as well. So you could see what your child is doing in class and with Schoology. So that might prompt, if I go back a little bit, that might prompt the conversation that you can have with them. Because now you know what they did. And you can start to talk about, well, what did you learn in history today? And really start to have that conversation with them. I already said, encourage your child to get involved. I gave you some of the school things. There's community things as well, right? Ask them to volunteer. Ask them to, maybe get involved in a little league or a basketball league. If they're not, sixth grade, you can't participate in athletics yet. But there are leagues around the community trying to get people involved in as much as you can. Get involved in home and school. I see a couple of my home and school folks up here. Our home and school is so passionate about our children and about our community. Not only their children, about all children in this building. We would love to see our library filled every single week. So if you can please get involved in that, all right? If we all team up together, we can really do amazing things. Become a volunteer. I know I did send that out somewhat recently in my Wednesday message, but if our students can see us volunteering in school, it ties that community back together. And then one of the last things is to monitor, your child's home access center, their grades, their attendance, and their behavior. That's all stuff that you can see. So it's not only at report card time or interim time. At any given moment you want, you're able to log in there. If you need help on how to get in there, that's where we can come in and help you. We can get you a new password. We can do whatever we can to get you on there. One of the greatest things that we've just enabled is alerts on Home Access Center, where you can now get yourself, and I know it's another email, but an email alert depending on what you would want to be notified about. So if in your eyes, my child's never going below a 70, if you want to set a 70 as that threshold, you could get an email about that. And if you set those alerts, that can be a great way to kind of, get back to that communication. Let me reach out to that family or to school to see what's going on and what I can do to help. So I really encourage, I hope you can, join us in this journey of helping our students, getting everybody engaged, and doing this all as a family and a team. And I think we're going to continue to see the great things that Beverly Hills Middle School is doing. So I know conferences do start at 5. It's 4:59. So I do thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate your support and anything that you are doing to help us and our students. Thank you so much and have a good night. I'll be down here if you have questions. Thank you.